Winman with agweb.com, and welcome to this week's edition of the Weekend Market Report. I'm speaking with Jerry Gulke, president of the Gulke Group, on Friday, June 20th. So, Jerry, we've had a lot of rain in the Midwest, and wondering, how's that affecting prices this week?
Well, oddly enough, the rumor or the general belief of people at the Board of Trade, and I'm at the office today for the first time. I've been doing some spraying. It was actually too wet to do anything, so I came into Chicago, and of course, the general belief is that rain makes grain, Jerry. And I had a comment from a trader that saw me in the elevator. Says, "Well," he says, there's no such thing as too much water because what you're losing, where there's too much water, you're gaining it isn't flooding." But I would beg to differ with them, and I think as we see the reports coming out of Minnesota and out of Iowa that there's significant grain, corn in particular, and of course soybeans, that's not just waterlogged, but underwater in some conditions and some cases, and of course that's going to subside and drain away, and it'll look better. But I think we do some damage to corn, irrespective of the fact that it dries up later. And I talked to some people out there, and they're telling me, some of our clients are saying that, I think I've taken 10 to 15% off of the potential off my corn that is waterlogged, and it's a big area, all the way from maybe Route 20 through Iowa, all the way to Mankato on north of Minneapolis, perhaps on the north side. So, and the conversation is, now that I've lost 15% of my crop, I'm back down now to where my crop insurance is taking over, and I see no incentive for me to do anything to make the crop any better because I'm covered by insurance from here on down, at least from a yield standpoint. And so there's a little reluctance of going in there and spraying it for a fungicide or something like that to help things. So the market, I think, realized that we discounted or we priced in pretty much a record crop or the potential for a record crop. And, of course, this week I heard some popular analysts out there use the term 180 bushel an acre corn nationwide, or I thought 170 was a little too much for this early in the year. But so we've heard all that, and the job of the marketplace is to arrive at a price that has discounted a lot of news. And now what happens if you change the weather pattern, or suddenly we get it gets cooler in the north, or that we get hotter now that we've had so much water? There's just a lot out there that can change these markets. And I watch things technically, and we had some significant situations. Corn closed higher actually for the week, and soybeans, which haven't succumbed to the big down move, even though most people understand we're going to have more soybeans than last year, and a lot of people think we're going to have a surplus worldwide. Soybeans, most of what we call in the technical vernacular, is a weekly key reversal higher, where it took out the previous week's low and the previous week's high and closed above the previous week's high, which means now we have the highest flows, believe it or not, in the last 4 weeks. So while we were going through all this big crop, record crop business and so forth, and how much we're going to be awash in soybeans, the soybean market did not go down like one would expect, at least not yet. It may need more information, and maybe it needs the crop report for late June or early July. So from a technical standpoint, it says we whipped around here for 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and the market now closed higher. I think the market is questioning whether or not all the acres got in the United States because of how wet it was, and whether or not we're losing some of those acres that were planted to being too wet and maybe underwater in some cases. And I'm of the opinion that soybeans don't like wet feet, so to speak, that June is the month that you kind of like to stress soybeans. You like to see it a little hotter, a little drier, and then you get your rain in July and August. So, there's a thought out there that we have stressed these beans enough such that we'd better have perfect weather going forward from here in order to get these high yields that so many people are anticipating. But for now, the good news is the slide is over, and I think we buy some time and we wait it out to see what happens next week when we have the crop report.
All right. Well, now, Jerry, you have contact with a lot of farmers. You've talked to a lot of farmers in the Midwest, and I was wondering, what are you personally hearing about their crop conditions right now?
Well, we're hearing a lot of good news. In other words, if you travel, I'd say south of the middle of northern Illinois area, we have a really good crop. I get texts all the time. Just got one just before we recorded this that I've driven around northern Illinois. The person says, and I've never seen the crop look better. Well, Good to excellent means it looks good from here. We're a long way from producing the crop, and of course weather will make a difference. But I think there's a 75% perhaps of the crop, as the government says, is in good to excellent condition, which would suggest an above trend line yield. And yes, it's a good crop. But in a situation where we've improved demand, and we still are questioning whether or not we planted all the acres, the government says 91.7. I'm of the mind this floats to 90 million when you get all done with it, 90 and a half or less. And how much went to soybeans in the northern plains area where they just ran out of time. And the other underlying thing in all this is that there was never an incentive since last fall, or really during planting season. It got worse. The incentive to plant corn versus soybeans financially got worse as we went into May. In other words, you recall that the price slide started in the beginning of May while we're trying to get the crop planted in a lot of areas. The price got cheaper and cheaper in corn and stayed the same or higher in soybeans. So I think, and as I talked to a lot of clients, they said, the market was telling me not to plant corn, and I didn't. Every day that I was delayed or thinking about it, the price got cheaper and the soybeans stayed the same. So I elected to plant a few more acres of soybeans and a few less to corn. So I think that may be the criteria that we judge all this from, is that did the farmer take clues from the marketplace, which was telling them, please don't plant any more corn than you did. We got enough already, and we're going to get a big yield. Continue to plant soybeans or plant more soybeans. Did we take that signal from the marketplace, or did we continue to plant corn in the areas that they could, and we've overwhelmed us with both corn and now maybe soybeans if they got planted in the wet areas? So it's a lot of producers have corn underwater, are waterlogged, and this last few days we've heard more and more we're in the wet areas, the northern part of Iowa, southern part of Minnesota, and north, even in South Dakota, that the crop has deteriorated some. So I think the market is anticipating that as well, thinking we've seen the best good to excellent ratings for corn at least, and perhaps soybeans for a while, maybe for the season. In other words, we were at 76% good to excellent. That may come down come Monday, and that would sometimes indicates that we've priced in about as good a crop as we're going to get, and now we need some more time. We need the rest of June and July and August and on into September to see whether we can carry this thing through to a good ending. So that's kind of what I see out there, and the market is kind of agreeing for now, and we'll just have to see how it works out next week when the sun shines.
All right. Great. Well, again, this is Jerry Gulke, president of the Gulke Group, and I'd like to thank Jerry for taking the time to chime in for this week's market report. And Jerry, hope everything's going all right on your farm, and hope you have a great day.
Yeah, it's great. So far, it's regardless of price, it's kind of nice to see a crop that isn't dried out and hot and dry like we've had the last few years ago when it was so difficult to even grow anything. So this is the good news, and I like a big crop more than I like a small crop and a high price. I can always sell those bushels later on if I get them.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry.
You bet.
For Farm Journal Radio, this is Joe Wingman.